All right, today we are following the money. We're diving deep into the biggest technological build-out in human history, the trillion-dollar foundation of this AI revolution. Let's get right into it. So just to set the stage, let's start with this quote from NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, the man at the absolute center of this whole thing. He says somewhere between $3 and $4 trillion will be spent on AI infrastructure by the end of the decade. I mean, that's a number so huge it's almost impossible to wrap your head around, right? It really tells you everything you need to know about the scale of what we're talking about today.
So that begs the question, where is all of this cash actually going? If trillions are flooding into the AI space, who's spending it? Who's getting rich from it? And what are they even building with all of it? We're going to follow the money trail. To really get this, we have to go back to the beginning, the origin story. It all kicked off with one single, game-changing partnership that basically wrote the playbook for the entire industry.
Okay, so it all started back in 2019. Microsoft makes this billion-dollar bet on a little lab you might have heard of, OpenAI. But here's the thing, the real genius wasn't just the money, it was how the deal was structured. As that investment ballooned up to almost $14 billion, most of it wasn't actual cash changing hands. Nope, it was something way more valuable to Microsoft, cloud credits for its Azure platform. And just like that, a whole new playbook was born. See, OpenAI got the one thing it desperately needed, its biggest expense by far, which was massive computing power. And what did Microsoft get? Well, they locked in a super important customer, they got to juice their Azure sales numbers, and they secured a huge stake in the future of AI. It was a perfect win-win.
And you better believe that model caught on like wildfire. All of a sudden, you've got Amazon pouring billions into Anthropic, Google Cloud starts signing up smaller AI companies left and right, and even OpenAI does the same trick again, but this time with NVIDIA, trading a piece of their company for access to those precious GPUs. The chips that make all of this possible.
So this new model basically started a gold rush. And you know how it goes in a gold rush, right? The people who get really rich are the ones selling the picks and shovels. So let's take a look at the new titans of AI infrastructure.
And maybe one of the most surprising comeback stories here belongs to a company that, let's be honest, a lot of people had kind of written off as a legacy player, Oracle. Out of what felt like nowhere, it just roared back to become an absolute monster in the AI cloud space.
It all started with this bombshell SEC filing. Oracle had signed a $30 billion cloud deal with some unnamed partner. We later found out it was OpenAI. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that one single deal was worth more than Oracle's entire cloud revenue from the year before. Insane.
But wait, it gets crazier. Just a few months after that, they topped it. A second deal, this time for a mind-bending $300 billion over 5 years. The scale is just stunning. Pretty much overnight, Oracle was back on top, and its founder, Larry Ellison, even briefly became the richest person in the world.
But look, if Oracle is selling access to the gold mine, there's one company that's making the single most critical tool you need to dig, the GPUs. And that, of course, is NVIDIA.
NVIDIA's strategy here is absolutely fascinating. It's this perfectly circular system. Okay, so first, they sell their GPUs, which are super scarce and in high demand for huge profits. Then, they turn around and announce these massive investments in their biggest customers, like OpenAI. But here's the kicker. They're not paying with cash. They're paying for the investment with more of their own GPUs. It's brilliant. It locks in their customers, and it makes sure their products stay scarce and valuable. They're reinforcing the very ecosystem they dominate. So all this digital stuff, the cloud credits, the GPUs, it all has to physically live somewhere. And that's where this boom goes from bits and bytes to actual concrete, steel, and power grids. They are literally building what you can only call AI factories. I mean, just take a look at Meta. The company plans to spend an incredible $600 billion on infrastructure in the US by 2028. That includes projects like Hyperion, this gigantic new data center in Louisiana that's so power-hungry, it literally needs its own deal with a local nuclear power plant just to stay running. Yeah, these AI factories have an absolutely insatiable appetite for energy. This kind of demand puts an immense strain on our power grids and, as we see with projects like xAI's new plant in Memphis, it often comes with some very real and, controversial environmental costs. And if you want to see the peak of this ambition, look no further than this. Project Stargate. We're talking about a $500 billion joint venture between giants like SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and it's even backed by the US government. The goal? Nothing less than to build the biggest AI infrastructure project in history, right in the heart of Texas.
Which, brings all of this together into one big, incredibly high-stakes question. With hundreds of billions being spent every single year, what we're witnessing can only be called the Great CAPEX Gamble.
Now, capital expenditures, or CAPEX for short, is usually a pretty dry behind-the-scenes number on a balance sheet. It's just what a company spends on physical stuff, buildings, equipment, servers. But in the world of AI, that boring accounting line has suddenly become the most important metric in all of tech.
Just look at these numbers for what these companies plan to spend in 2026 alone. Amazon is projecting $200 billion. Google's right behind them at around $180 billion. And Meta is planning to drop over $125 billion. I mean, these are just astronomical sums of money for a single year's budget.
And when you add it all up, the big cloud providers, what the industry calls hyperscalers, they are on track to spend nearly $700 billion on data center projects in 2026 alone. In 1 year. That is the scale of the bet they are making on AI.
And all this has created this really fundamental tension. On one side, you've got the tech executives, who are incredibly bullish. They argue this spending is completely non-negotiable, it's about survival. But on the other side, you've got Wall Street, the bankers, the investors, and they are getting really, really nervous about the mountain of debt being piled up to pay for it all. And that's really the dynamic we're in right now. It's a simple but incredibly powerful equation. The more the tech industry spends on the future of AI, the more nervous its financial backers get about the present.
Which leaves all of us with the ultimate trillion-dollar question. Are we watching the construction of the essential foundation for our technological future? Or are we sitting inside the biggest, most complex, and most consequential financial bubble in the history of the world? I guess only time will tell.